Hi, and welcome back to Fan to Flame Dates. Today we're at House on the Rock Family Ministries headquarters here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And we have the pleasure of being headquartered in a 1750 stone farmhouse. And you know, Karen, this house has been standing around for a long time, before the Revolutionary War. And outside we have a tree that's over 350 years old. So we're going to be looking at some things that have been around for quite a while. And most of us watching these videos want our marriages to be around for quite a while. So we're going to talk about building a good foundation. This house has had a foundation that's held her up for over 250 years. So we're going to look at the 7 tasks that newlywed couples, those of you who are married in the first 2 years of your marriage, need to accomplish in order to put a good foundation under your marriage. Meredith and Myers, Christian psychologists based out of Texas, have identified 5 seasons that marriages go through. The first season is young love, years 1 and 2.
Second season is realistic, 3 to 10.
And comfortable love goes from years 11 to 25.
Renewing love goes from 20 to 35.
And then the season that we're in, hon, the transcendent love, 35 plus years. So that's a little depressing for us to talk about this being in the last season of marriage, but we have a lot of experience in going through these seasons and are excited to talk about them with you. Meredith Myers have identified that each season has a number of tasks, and if couples don't negotiate these tasks, it's very difficult for them to move from one season to the other. And issues that they don't get resolved early in their marriage will show up later in their marriage. So the things that Karen and I didn't take care of in the young love stage, which there is one, we still deal with in the transcendent stage. So that's why this time is important to understand where you are and where you're going.
The 7 tasks that need to be accomplished during this first season of marriage are leaving and cleaving, where the two become one, balancing of power and resolving conflict, building a sexual union, learning to make good choices, dealing with unfinished business, establishing a financial foundation, and building a spiritual union.
Today we're going to focus specifically on the first one, leaving and cleaving. How do two become one flesh? And that's a big challenge because it's real easy for us to leave home, but it's a whole lot harder for home to leave us. You know, Genesis chapter 2, when God brought Eve to Adam, and he was overwhelmed with delight and joy. He said, "This is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh." And then Moses went on and he gave an editorial comment. He said, "And for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." And that word cleave means to hold on to for dear life. Hold on, you'll never let go. And, you know, we have a lot of temporary relationships in life. We have friendships, we have extended family, but there's only one permanent relationship, and that's a relationship that exists between a husband and wife. We're going to have kids. We have 2 kids. Both of them have left home, and they're going to cleave to their wives and form their own permanent union. So Karen and I struggled a little bit with 2 becoming one. We had a good deal going. We moved to Des Moines, Iowa, which helped us get away from home, but we still had some issues with that affected me probably a little bit more than Karen. So.
When you leave home, especially for the woman, your father has been your wisdom card for 21, 22, 27 years. And when your husband goes to make a decision, you're thinking, what kind of experience does he have? What kind of wisdom does he have? I better call my dad. And that kind of thought process undermines the marriage, and subtly undermines the marriage because the woman doesn't think there's anything wrong with it.
I'm supposed to be the head of the house.
But
I'm supposed to be the big guy.
he's supposed to be the head of the house. And we can still ask for wisdom from our fathers or spiritual mentors, but we have to come together and agree together to ask.
A lot of times this comes up too in terms of where you're going to spend holidays. You know, you come home and where you're going to spend Thanksgiving, whose house, or Christmas, and that becomes fun. It's much more than how do you roll the toilet paper. Does it come over the front or back, or squeeze the toothpaste? That's all part of this two becoming one, but they're pretty easy to navigate more often than not.
One of the important issues we have to address are the traditions that we've established with our family of origin. And we come together and each of us have different traditions or different ideas on how we spend Christmas and Easter and do birthdays, things like that.
Not to mention menus and singing celebrations and things like that.
Absolutely. We have to come together and agree and find our own tradition that we're going to establish together as a family with consideration of and thoughtfulness of how our spouse spent their holidays.
I was more than willing to give up clam chowder on Christmas Eve. That was easy to do.
Well, the thing is, we had it easy because Bruce's parents were away in Florida and my parents were home, so we spent most of the holidays with my parents. But our son and his wife, both of their parents live in the area, and they have just done a super job of being thoughtful of each other and spending time with both families. And then on the other hand, our parents have to be thoughtful and considerate of allowing them to do that, so we don't interfere or have unrealistic expectations for them.
Right. If you're a parent of an adult child who's struggling with this, be sensitive to that and help them make the transition smooth as they can. They need to establish their own family traditions. One of the other things we have to do as we leave home to cleave to our spouses is to leave prior relationships, friendships. Sometimes you have the my friends, your friends. I'm going to go do something with my friends, but my friends aren't your friends. And that can be an uncomfortable situation, an uncomfortable scenario. And you need to work out, any of those competing relationships and make sure that you find some new friends, new niche for what you're going to do and how you're going to respond.
And establish friends together as well, and definitely not have residual friends of the opposite sex that are meaningful relationships that you've had before. They have to be...
You mean I had to give up my old girlfriends? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, okay.
Another aspect of this task in marriage is to develop your own realistic expectations of each other. We each have different roles to play. Some
the male role, female role. Who mows the lawn, who does the dishes, who cooks dinner, who does the laundry, who pays the bills. That's what you're talking about.
And it can be different than your family of origin or the expectations you may have in what is the perfect marriage. So establish those together with thoughtfulness and kindness, and make sure that it's your idea of what you would like to have.
And both of you have to be comfortable in it because you're going to be living in those roles for the next 40, 50 years of your life together. So it's a good time to establish what those roles are going to look like, what the boundaries are, if there are boundaries. Maybe you decide you're going to be flexible, and I'm willing to do the dishes, but you're better at finances, so you take care of the books. And as life changes, roles might change.
Right.
So we've looked at the first task of this first season, Young Love, which is leaving and cleaving, the two becoming one. And this is so important for us to be able to leave the things of our past, to cleave to our spouse, to form our new life together. And it's going to be a lot of adventure. It's two fast rivers coming together, make some rapids, but eventually things will smooth out downstream as you begin to work through some of these issues of leaving and cleaving. Go ahead and pause the video. There's some questions that are going to be on the screen that we want you to talk about to see how well you've navigated this first task of Young Love, leaving and cleaving. We'll look for you next time on Fan to Flame Dates.